Jojo Rabbit, the movie that I was talking about already from last week, again, because I did not enjoy What We Do in the Shadows, the movie by Taika Waititi, and wondered profusely why this guy has an Academy Award, and decided, you know what, I will investigate myself. So I watched the movie, and I kind of get it. That is my kind of takeaway. I kind of get it. But what is Jojo Rabbit? If you haven't seen it, by the way, big spoiler alert, because this movie does have like large parts of its plot is based on, or rather like very how would I say it? It is made deeper, and it's given, the story is given lots of value through moments that you wouldn't normally expect, and it has lots of like shock value and stuff like that. So this is a movie that if I spoil it for you, you wouldn't have as much enjoyment of it as you would have otherwise. So there's your warning, a prolonged warning. But yeah, the movie was made in 2019. It's intended as a comedy drama film, written and directed by Taika Waititi. As I said, but it was adapted from a book called Caging Skies, and the book tells the story of a young boy in the Nazi youth, in the Hitlerjugend in the early 40s, still during the Second World War, who finds, and he's a fanatic just like any Hitlerjugend child would be at that age, at that time, he finds a Jewish girl hiding in his attic, at his home, and his mother is giving refuge to this child. Hello there. 5 push-ups. I'll bang that and do them later. But hello, welcome to the stream. Other than that, the film has a little bit of a different approach towards all this. Like, it isn't it's written by Taika Waititi, and Taika Waititi, and I have a quote here actually somewhere down here, says, "I'm not a dramatic storyteller, so I had to add elements to the story that would make me want to go to work in the morning." So that's sort of his approach to making, tackling this very difficult or very dramatic and heart-wrenching story of a young boy and Jewish refugee hiding from the Nazis during the times of the Holocaust. It's starring Roman Griffin Davis, who's this guy. It was his first debut. He plays the main character, Jojo Rabbit. Taika Waititi is starring in his own movie as well. He plays his imaginary friend Adolf Hitler. So he's sort of like a childish Hitler, because he is an imaginary friend of Jojo Rabbit, this scrawny child that is fanatical, but in a funny way, And then there's Thomasin McKenzie portraying the young Jewish girl in the attic, called Elsa. And Roman Griffin Davis, this guy, Jojo Rabbit's mother, is Scarlett Johansson. So, good casting, I would say. Cinematography was made, the cameraman essentially, it was Mihai Maleimare, who is a cinematographer for, among others, Francis Ford Coppola. And very talented, and I must say, after watching What We Do in the Shadows last week, which I equated to like a average student film, or like, below standard in sense of how professionally it was shot and edited even, and all that, pointing out editing and camera work mistakes. This is different level. Like, it is shot absolutely beautifully. All the forest scenes, all the scenes of, wide lens scenes in the room of the boy and the little, and the Jewish girl and all that. It was completely something else. Thank you. Another 5 push-ups. That's 10 already. I think I'll wait for the end of the review. I already have 2 drinks, so the stream will definitely take off after we finish with this one. But then, as I said, it won the Academy Award for the Best Adapted Screenplay, and it was nominated for Best Picture as well at the 92nd Academy Awards. So yeah, definitely a very high critical acclaim. The film was shot with a $14.4 million budget, and it received $93 million in the box office. I didn't write that down. I can't believe I remember that. I usually don't remember numbers very well. Also, fun fact, a large portion of the production teams, and also the location for the entire film was made and sourced in the Czech Republic. It was shot in a little town 75 kilometers from Prague called Žatec. And yeah, the whole film was shot in the Czech Republic, so big up us. Even the interiors, they were shot in Barrandov Studios in our little film area in Prague. So there's something to be proud about, I guess. There's lots of like old productions, especially of historical movies that are shot here in Prague, because it's much cheaper than in other European cities that look as well as ours. And we have already very good VFX teams and production teams. We do have good film industry here in this country. Czechy Guru, indeed. All right. But let's start with what I thought. I usually watch these movies. I make my notes like really quickly while watching. So I pause it usually and like type down notes. And then I go through them and do extra research and write out exactly what I thought and all that. And usually ends up with like, I don't know, 3 pages of notes that I have. And like writing it, rewriting it. I'm talking about my process here because I don't know if you care about that, but that's how I do it. After that, I wrote all these notes and rewrote all these notes so many times that I usually just remember it by heart. Another 5 push-ups. Wow, I will be doing 15 push-ups at the end of this review. I'm not sure I want this review to end, ladies and gentlemen. It's gonna be mad. By the way, I'll probably put this one on YouTube, so if you're watching it on YouTube, that's what you will be missing, because after the video is over, you won't see me do the push-ups or do the drinks or play Minecraft with our good friend Cotier here. So there you go. There's another reason to watch the streams. Starting with the intro. I always like to look at the intro, how the film kind of welcomes me into the world. Into its themes and motifs, into the storytelling kind of vibe that this film is gonna hit me with. And this one was good, but it also encapsulated very well what I didn't like about the movie. The camera work and editing, fantastic. It established the story basically of a scrawny kid. He was standing in front of a camera, and he was talking himself up like, I can do this, blah blah blah, I'm gonna join the Hitler Jugend, and he has his little Hitler uniform that you can see on the screen right now. And he's getting psyched. There was a funny moment. There was Taika Waititi immediately there as his imaginary friend dressed as Hitler. You can see him on the left, essentially helping him to get like psyched up, and then they get psyched up by yelling Heil Hitler really loudly. So they yell Heil Hitler repeatedly and louder and louder and louder until he's psyched enough to run out of the door and like runs through the street and yells Heil Hitler to all his neighbors. And there is the Beatles start blaring, but in German. And then it's overlaid, like there are shots of actual Nazis and actual Nazi rallies, like real life, from like documentary, what you would see in documentary films and stuff like that, while German Beatles are blaring. So very kind of active, very open, and kind of fun with a backdrop of Nazism, Germany during the Nazi era. So all of this, all of these feelings, these mixes of emotions, but taken very lightheartedly and very very energetically, one of those words, sort of propels the film forward. But yeah, straight off the bat, the movie goes with its like Nazi humor. It goes kind of on the shallow end. I felt like a little bit, because it's making fun of Nazis, which, you know, I don't have an issue with, but it's always like very, like, sometimes it's on the nose, sometimes it's like super shallow. There are moments I think one of the longest running jokes there was the Heil Hitler joke, that they use Heil Hitler for everything. So it's either like getting psyched up like, yeah, Heil Hitler, you know, or just a casual greetings like, hey, Heil Hitler, you know, and they, like, different intonations mean different kind of greetings. It kind of like sounds like, you know, they're really trying to show that they were always like Heil Hitler, even when it wasn't an actual Heil, it was just like a passing greeting or something. Or there were jokes like, and those are further into the movie, like, you know, you can go walk the clones, for example, referring to some of the Mengele experiments where, or some other like Hitler secret experiments where they were trying cloning, for example, like future wars and stuff like that. So there's literally like a group of children that are cloned, and Jojo Rabbit is offered to he's offered a job to go walk the clones. Essentially, that's just some of the jokes that I was having to deal with there. And that is genuinely like, and I think you'll see this theme throughout the whole review. That is my main issue there, because the movie is pretty good. I really enjoy the movie. It's just the humor. The humor that Taika Waititi himself describes as what he had to put in there to be able to make the movie. I just don't find funny at all. I just realized that Taika Waititi is not funny to me at all. Like, nothing, and like barely anything that he does feels funny. But I see that he's trying. That's the issue, you know. Like some movies can be like funny because it's just like super silly humor, but what I just don't find funny is when people are trying and they think they're funny but they're not. Yeah, so you look agrees, yeah. But then, like, the first moment where I realized that the film isn't just like some shitty jokes about Nazis, and it does actually have some balls to like go further a little bit in either the narrative or the comedy itself, is during the Stielhandgranate scene, where essentially there is this Hitlerjugend summer camp of sorts, and I just realized my music is blaring. Let me just pull that down. I want you guys to hear me. Yeah, that's better, I think. Let's put a suggestion, a movie about Hitler waking up in 2014. It's a really good movie. In the Discord. Alright, I'll check it out. Yeah, by the way, as you can see in the top right, if you are a sub, if you are a producer, then you can suggest any movie for me to review. I won't review any and all movies that you post up there, but I'll definitely check them out and, you know, give them credence. Like, I'll try to review them. It's only if I think that that's a movie that, I mean, if it's a movie and it's like reasonably long, I'll most likely do it. You know, if you put it there, if you put it in the suggestions. So there it is. Just a little shout out to our Discord. But yeah, again, the Stielhandgranate scene is essentially where they are in a Hitler Jugend kind of summer camp. Jojo Rabbit is there as well, and he isn't having the best of times because he's picked out of a lineup of boys to show that he is, you know, strong enough to become a Nazi soldier by the instructors making him kill a rabbit, which is where he got his name from because he refused to do so. You know, he was too scared, too kind of cowardly. But it also showed, obviously, the movie showed his humanity from this as well. And as he goes crying out into the forest, as he isn't able to do so, to kill the rabbit, essentially, they laugh at him, call him Jojo Rabbit. Then he has this prolonged conversation with his imaginary friend Hitler that, like, kind of pushes him up, which I guess is kind of like entertaining, like humorous in a way that like Hitler is this like silly little childish friend of his that like gives him support, which is like kind of sweet if it wasn't Hitler. And that's kind of what the movie is going for with lots of its humor and entertainment in general, I felt like. But as he, you know, bumps him up again, Jojo runs to back to the group, and the group is now trying the Stielhandgranate, which is, by the way, this is, I realized I didn't explain myself. That's a hand grenade that the Nazis used during World War II. That's the long stick with the screwable top. That essentially you pull out a string and you throw it, and it's like this stick just, you know, goes and explodes. It's a hand grenade. It's a type of hand grenade. I call it Stielhandgranate because that's what it's called, and because I remember the name from Call of Duty, the game. And essentially he runs, he steals one of the Stielhandgranate, pulls the string and like throws it because he's, you know, ecstatic and wants to show everyone that he isn't in fact a coward. But the grenade, because they are in a forest, remember, the grenade ricochets off of a tree back towards him, lands at his feet, and the movie shows him being blown back through the force of the grenade. And then he has a scar for the rest of the movie. And showing like a little kid being exploded by a grenade, I was like, well, the movie, I guess, can take it a step further. And at that point, even though it was kind of horrible, I was kind of intrigued. Like, you know, if they're able to do that, like if the film is brave enough to do something like that, then you know, let's see what's gonna happen next. This movie, what I suggest, can be taken two ways: a comedy or a smart political movie that has a mask of comedy. It's like satire, pretty much. Hitler in the movie is like Hitler in the eyes of a Third Reich child. Well, then it's pretty much like this then, because the Hitler here, or the Hitler that we see, it's essentially not the real Adolf Hitler, but it's Hitler as an imaginary friend of Jojo Rabbit. But yeah, so again, movie, you know, showed that it can do crazy things, crazier than what we do in the shadows for sure. But it again confirmed for me that I just don't find Taika Waititi funny. Again, there was this running scene where, and you could see it in the picture that I've shown you, and it was Jojo Rabbit kind of like running happily, and next to him there was Taika Waititi as his imaginary friend Hitler, and it was like pulling faces and doing childish shit, and it just wasn't funny at all. But I know that he was trying to be. And it's clear from the interviews as well that he like takes himself as a big funny man, which I just don't see. But I guess other people do, so I don't know. Really blowing up challenge a step further in a movie about Nazis. I mean, yeah, because like the Nazis so far were only shown in a very shallow way. There wasn't any kind of cruelty by the Nazi party shown in the movie. So yes, blowing up a child was in this movie, putting it like step forward when it comes to the comedy or the realism, or like just what happens in general, because all the Nazis are like presented with like a funny, humorous way. They're like being ridiculed, but their cruelty isn't shown to the full extent yet. So yeah, that's what I meant by taking it a step further. But yeah, again, amalgamation of shallow jokes made by Taika Waititi include, for me, when Jojo Rabbit wasn't sure about going outside after he got his scar on his cheek, saying that he doesn't want to go outside and look stupid, that people are gonna stare, and his mother, Scarlett Johansson, says, "Enjoy the staring, not everyone gets to look stupid. I just look incredibly attractive." And again, it's just a joke that is like an obvious joke to make, joke that didn't really put a smile on my face. Making Scarlett Johansson say it is just funny, I guess. It just isn't funny because it's super obvious. Then again, there was the line about walking the clones, or handing out this funny little propaganda posters. It's just stereotyping Nazis, but not stereotyping Nazis. I just didn't find it funny. Like maybe it's just me. Like I don't know, you guys, Kotier, you've seen it, so I don't know if you found that funny. There were humorous bits there for sure, but maybe it's just you. Maybe it is. I mean, I'm saying, like, the movie is incredibly successful. But as I said, I enjoyed the movie, okay? I just think that these jokes are kind of shoehorned in. And Taika Waititi's character is shoehorned in as well. Now, I would not laugh at all at that. Yeah. See? Well, that's what I'm saying. I thought it was pretty funny. Hey. See, maybe it is just me. I don't know. Maybe it's just the East? Nah. I don't really buy that. Like, I make that argument usually when it's something smaller, something more niche. But I'm definitely, throughout my entire life, I've been much more exposed to Western culture in movies and TV shows than to Eastern culture. I've never really got into just watching Czech films or Czech TV shows or anything like that. I've always watched TV shows from the West, from England, from the United States. Then I've watched a couple Danish, but usually American and English TV shows, and books even still. Like I read mostly English books and all that. So I don't think, like, when it comes to cultures and joke telling, I don't think that I have like an Eastern mindset when it comes to that. And hereditary trauma. It's not trauma, mate. Like I don't feel traumatized. I don't feel like it's not funny because it's offensive. I don't feel offended at all. Like the movie does very well in like avoiding anything offensive, I feel like, to like a reasonable person. I just don't find it funny because it's just like a poor joke. It's not in poor taste. I don't think that it's not offending me. It's just kind of weak boomer humor. Yeah, I get what you mean. All right, okay. But then the movie surprises me once more when there is, Jojo Rabbit obviously discovers the Jew hiding in the attic, and it's made as a really real scene. It's kind of like funny, and it's not funny. It's lighthearted, but it's executed in a very fun, lighthearted way. But at the same time, it kind of has the veil of the true cruelty that this Jewish girl is subjected to, essentially. I mean, to your grandma this movie would be funny? I mean, if I think that it will be funny to my if my grandma would find it funny. I don't know. It's just hard to imagine. Maybe, yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Like my grandma doesn't usually. My grandma watches Poirot. If you remember that that old chestnut, that old review that I did. That's what my grandma watches. I can't imagine what she would think about the movie like that. I don't think it's that deep. It's just the time of the joke that doesn't suit everyone. Maybe. Maybe. Then why boomer humor? I don't know, man, because I don't know, I don't really have a term for what I mean, you know? It feels like, because for me, I'll describe the feeling that I have about it, right? Because I kind of have all the, I kind of feel like my humor, sort of like that I was into humor and into funny things for so long that I kind of developed just some kind of like natural barrier to just humor that's just like basic, and I need something like either maybe like dark humor or like, yeah, probably like dark humor or something like that, or humor at someone's expense potentially, or at my own expense, but like not, you know, base level. It's just that's what I kind of mean, and I feel lots of people my age have the same thing, that they just don't find like a regular nice kind of baseline basic humor, because it doesn't take a lot of thought, and it isn't really controversial or risky, and it isn't at anyone's expense, to make a joke about how Nazis did clones, or Scarlett Johansson is saying that people are staring at her because she's incredibly attractive. You know, it's just, it feels lazy to me, to my brain. That's what it feels like. But anything wouldn't I define it as boomer humor? Okay, it was misdefined then. Okay, well that's why I have you here, guys, to stop me, to teach me, and to tell me that I'm saying bullshit when I'm saying bullshit. Maybe it's wrong then. I try to use, I don't know, I try to use like yeah, I may have misused like the criteria, not the criteria, the definition, because like the feeling that I have about it was the closest. You know, it feels like a New York Times kind of caricature of something, or like a newspaper caricature, and like a funny line underneath, like the quintessential boomer humor. That is boomer humor, and it kind of elicits the same reaction in me as like Taika Waititi's humor here. Critic humor. I understand you want something more than basic. Yeah, potentially. But we can move away from that, because realistically, I just wanted to point that out as and start with something that I didn't enjoy, that was quite similar to what we do in the shadows, in the, you know, the previous movie that I reviewed last week. And I wanted to start with that because, believe it or not, I actually really liked this movie. I really enjoyed it, and I kept thinking about it. This time I managed to get myself to watch it. I managed to get myself to watch it yesterday, so I had longer time to think about it than last time. And even like right after to, you know, right now, I'm still thinking about it, and I really liked it. It's a movie that manages, with its lightheartedness and the occasional, you know, bad joke that kind of like brings me out of the movie and like is a little jarring to my eyes, manages to convey so many different emotions in such a great and like light way, that would otherwise be very heavy, and normally would be in like very heavy, in like a very masterful kind of tone that is very rare. And that is potentially why I think they might have deserved that Academy Award, even though I do have a note here. But we will get into it in a while. I think that's that's a question for another, for in a couple of minutes, to you guys as well. Oh no, flashbacks from comics from newspapers. And I'm more like, it's not a bad movie or anything amazing. You mean this one? I think it's more than not a bad movie, in my opinion. I think it's very good. There are these parts with Taika Waititi that I described that kind of stop, like, that would make me stop saying it's perfect. But other than that, like, it's incredible what they've done, and I'll follow through with, you know, examples and all that. But anyway, Jojo Rabbit discovers there is a Jewish girl living in the attic one day when he returns back home from doing like post office work, being a little postman, and you know, he's obviously scared. But and he kind of devises a plan of how to get rid of the Jew with his imaginary friend Hitler, which, you know, all sounds horrific, but in the movie it is made very kind of light-hearted. And it very well shows like how the propaganda confused child is coming head to head with kind of humanity the more he speaks with the Jew, because at first I'm saying the Jew because at that point she wasn't introduced in the movie, so I don't know what to call her. Her name is Elsa, the character's name. And Elsa is like, at first she kind of like attacks him and not attacks him, but like stops him from like running out of the house, because obviously that would reveal her presence in the house potentially, which would of course threaten her life immensely in Nazi Germany during the Second World War. But then as he kind of like tries to like gain more information on her and like Jewish race and stuff like that, he you know, starts writing a book of some kind. He starts talking to her, and we can see, and it's well acted by the young boy himself, that it's really that there is kind of like a head-to-head amalgamation, some kind of shift in thinking, like battling mindsets between his humanity and his propaganda, you know, confusion that he has in his head. He literally has an imaginary friend called you know, that is Hitler, is the embodiment of Hitler in his mind. And it's all made very light-hearted. This movie could easily have been very heavy duty stuff, for, you know, for people to think about. Much more difficult movie to swallow it could have been. But then, like, even though the embodiment of imaginary friend Hitler is a good idea, I felt like, because it shows his inner struggle much better. At the same time, Taika Waititi just tries to be funny so much. I even found, you know, I have a note here that when I was watching a scene where Jojo Rabbit and his mother were sitting at a dinner table, and he tries to confront her without saying directly that he, you know, found the Jew upstairs. He's trying to like confront her about what she's hiding and stuff like that. There is his imaginary friend Hitler sitting in between them, like pulling faces like, "Oh, this is awkward" and stuff like that, and just not saying anything, but like enunciating in like a funny way, or supposedly funny way. And I wrote, "You made a good movie. Stop shoehorning yourself into it." Which perhaps is a bit too simplistic. I mean, I didn't see the whole movie before I wrote that. Realistically, what I should have done is like, should have written, in my opinion, again, like maybe it's just me, stop trying to be funny so much. I feel like it's a good idea to have like a light-hearted Hitler figure as an imaginary friend to portray the boy's struggle in his mind with his, you know, with all the propaganda. But he doesn't have to be this unfunny, you know. That's sort of my takeaway. But his presence and sort of the way Waititi portrayed the movie or rather was portrayed himself in the movie, waned. You know, there was much more, and I don't know if you agree with me, when, you know, if you noticed, if you've seen the movie, there's much denser presence of him in the first half of the movie than in the latter half of the movie. Because as the movie picks up pace and the story is more developed, there's more depth to it. There is less and less space for Hitler's for the silly character of the imaginary Hitler being there. There's, for example, the great scene of Scarlett Johansson, the mother of Jojo, posing as father. You know, when Jojo gets angry with her at dinner and says, you know, I wish my father was here, or something like that. And she gets up, you know, puts up a uniform, a Nazi uniform with her, you know, with a flick, and takes some ashes from the fireplace and gives herself a beard, and then, you know, slams the table in front of Jojo and yells at him with a deep voice and like crazy eyes. And, you know, Jojo is scared. And then the mother like kind of cries and goes back and tells Jojo, still posing as the father, you know, I'm sorry I yelled at you, kid. You need to take care of your mother, or something like that. And I was like, whoa, that is pretty well done. Like that is great writing, great idea. I felt like it just came out of nowhere, these kind of scenes, because I fully expected to watch like a silly comedy and then wonder like, how did this win an Oscar? But then it has so many of these scenes, and they just kept on, you know, they just kept on being more and more of them, until the film just completely blew my mind. But don't worry, we're getting there. So yeah, I mean, that's why I wanted to talk about Taika Waititi in the first place, him putting himself in a movie, and why I didn't find that unfunny, because I feel like without him being there, or without him acting like as this super comedic character that I don't feel like he is, like Stephen Merchant, for example, that you see on the screen right now, I feel like this movie for me would be like pretty much a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, very high number. So yeah, then again, there was a beautiful sequence of scenes of like some kind of like a friendship developing between Jojo and Elsa. It's kind of started very rocky with Jojo finding out that Elsa has a fiancé that's fighting in the resistance called Nathan, and Jojo forges a letter from the fiancé, essentially saying that, you know, blah blah blah, I'm breaking up with you, I'm now very fat and I never loved you. And it's kind of like funny in a way, like how a child would write that, something like that, how a child forged a letter like that. But it makes Elsa genuinely cry for some reason, even though she's much older than Jojo. And it like the movie hints at the fact that either her fiancé is really dead, or that she's hurt by the fact that Jojo would make something like that up, because it is hinted at that she knows that it's a forged letter. But Jojo like sees that she is crying, and even though it's like he sees still in his propaganda-driven brain, he sees Jews as monsters, as he was taught by the fanatics in Hitlerjugend. He still has the humanity in him. He's still, you know, a child brimming with humanity. So he goes back and forges another letter that said, you know, I'm not breaking up with you. I'm sorry. That was a mistake. And, you know, he repairs that, essentially. Well, remind me, good scene that I fully forgot. I think it was just like her fear. Maybe that's a good possibility as well. And maybe at that point she was afraid that her fiancé would die. But again, the movie didn't explain fully why, and the movie didn't need to explain fully why. The movie started to be subtle, written amazingly well. Written amazingly well. Miles ahead of What We Do in the Shadows, which was only shot 5 years before this, which I absolutely cannot believe. There was nobody else listed as the credits in the credits for the writer other than Taika Waititi. So what happened in those 5 years? I want to know. Because he wrote something absolutely amazingly. This movie, I love the writing in this movie, honestly. Absolutely great, except for his jokes. We move to a very interesting little motif that I noticed before it came into like full fruition. I'll tell you what I mean in a sec. This is going to be a spoiler, but you've been warned at the beginning of the stream. There were lots of like beautifully executed little motifs of like, you know, visual storytelling and all that, and because it's a beautifully shot film, and one of them was Jojo always being like, for example, on a crosswalk while his mother was on an elevated ledge, like above the crosswalk, and sort of walking alongside him, but also like dancing with her like nice red shoes, and the shoes would be in his eye line, in Jojo's eye line. So he would always look at his mother's feet as she was dancing in front of his eyes, essentially. And this happened multiple times throughout the movie, and it was kind of like very nice, kind of endearing kind of visual motif that I didn't think that they would use for anything, but I just kind of liked it. I just felt that was nice, but it did come into fruition later, that we will put into perspective to what we talked about right now, which is I'm going to attempt to do what I felt during the movie as well. Then, like shortly after like one of these scenes, there was also like a small glimpse into like the cruelty of war as the mother and Jojo were coming back from a walk, essentially, or like a bike somewhere, and they saw injured soldiers coming back from the front, showing just a little glimpse into the cruelty of war while some like nice lighthearted music was playing. And that was very kind of well done again, because it's just a glimpse into the cruelty of war. I felt like it was there could have been more of these moments, but I guess it would be hard to still keep it lighthearted. But I felt it was very well executed to see, like maybe through almost like to see war through a child's eyes, because he's still confused by the fact because that he thinks that he wants to go to war, to the front, to battle. It just made sense in the movie. I felt like, oh, this is it. There was probably the worst joke I've ever seen in a movie of this quality. I teased it already when I started talking about the review, and it was a joke that I felt when I saw it for the first time, that I literally wrote, "This joke alone should disqualify the film from an Academy Award." And this was fucking dire. There was this Captain Clenson Hofer or something. Great segue, indeed. Thank you very much. I've been practicing my segues. No, I haven't. I don't know why I said that. There's a guy, Captain Glenn Hofer or something, a Nazi kind of captain, that has his like subordinate. He's yelling at his subordinate, saying, I said I want German shepherds for when the Allies come, like to Berlin for the war. I meant the dogs, and then the camera pans to literal shepherds that are wearing like German clothes, like lederhosen and stuff. And I was like, fuck me. That's just a fucking terrible joke. Like, that joke is like on the line of being so absolutely terrible it's funny, but it didn't cross that line yet. And like to me, this was just horrendous. So horrendous. I mean, he means like he wants German shepherds, the dog breed, but his subordinate brings in German shepherds, like real German shepherds from the mountains. Fuck me. Like, dude, that's... Cannot have that in an Academy Award-winning movie. I'm sorry. That's just not good enough. That's just not good enough. I don't care. Like, that is boomer humor. That is the definition of boomer humor. I don't care what you say. That is boomer humor at its finest. Okay, that would make me laugh. No, I opened wide-eyed and I was like, what? Like, no way. No fucking way, dude. That's what I said out loud when I saw that. I don't know, Shadow, if it would. I think it... I mean, I don't know you. Maybe it would, but maybe it's because I tried to do a delivery for the joke, right? Oh, come on, the guy brought back bloody shepherds. Yeah, that's horrendous. Like, oh my god, come on, seriously. You are a boomer at heart, Shadow. You are a boomer at heart. A strange one, a weird one, but a boomer nonetheless. You guys are boomers. What is going on with my chat? It's horrendous. No way. King Kong Company, are you still here? Have you seen the movie? Help. I need help. Why only I didn't find it funny? If they're on the boom like confetti, mate. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just like the word. You're Mr. Scrooge here. Mr. Scrooge. Mr. Scrooge is the duck that dives into the money, right? Don't you mean Grinch? It is full-on boomer humor. Come on, this is boomer humor. This is boomer humor. I meant German shepherds, the dogs, not actual shepherds. Hans, bring me the dogs. Nah. There's 6 viewers. That means, or like I see 6 viewers on my stream manager. That means that there are 3 people that aren't voicing their opinions. Some people are stupid and misunderstand things. What? You guys are crazy. Are you calling me stupid now? What? Oh my god. There are 6 viewers, so that's 3 people that are not voicing their opinions, and I'm gonna assume that they're siding with me. So that's 4 people against 3. Okay? There we go. It's boomer humor. I call people that. Okay. Then we get to the funny part of the movie, because an actual good comedian walks in the door, by the way. The person that got the people and not the dogs is stupid, that's why it's funny. Yeah, but that's not funny. But I understand the joke, Cotier. You don't have to explain to me. I'm glad that you, by the way, called the character stupid, not me. I don't mind if the chat calls me stupid, by the way. I am fully fine taking a joke at my expense. But still, yeah, I understand what you mean, but still. Let me decrease the brightness on this, I'm pale. There we go. Alright. Damn, dude. Yeah. A dictatorship? What do you mean? Silent votes are not your votes. I mean, they are. I made them that way. We're moving on. We're moving on, okay? There is a scene that I really liked that was both tense and comedic. Comedic because it includes Stephen Merchant, a real comedian, that came into the house where Jojo was already, kind of friendly with Elsa, and he was like a Gestapo officer, and he came in with like Gestapo people, and it was I felt like what they said was maybe written by Stephen Merchant because he was a comedian writer. He's a comedian writer as well. He wrote The Original Office, for example, with Ricky Gervais, and some other stuff like Extras, and all those like funny British sitcoms or movies, like TV shows. Sorry. And there is quite an alright joke that he said. Every day we get a call about some communist hiding behind their fridge, so we go to investigate, and it's just some mold. And I kind of find that funny. It's an alright joke. It's not super funny, but it's better. It's definitely an improvement. But at the same time, the movie provided lots of like real tension that good movies make when there is a Gestapo in someone's house that's clearly hiding, Jews. The kind of pressure, not at the same level, but the kind of pressure that you would see, for example, in the opening sequence of The Inglourious Bastards, when Colonel Hans Landa comes to the house of the French farmer hiding the Jews, including Shoshana. I don't know if you've seen Inglourious Bastards, but it's essentially this kind of pressure of like Nazis, like real monsters, searching for people that they aim to, put in concentration camps. So that pressure was there, but at the same time, they managed to get away with like kind of like funny jokes as well at the same time, while maintaining the pressure and showing that the situation was real. And that already set the tone. I mean, the tone was already set, but it maintained the tone of like pressure while the humor was kind of around as well. So the movie didn't like completely explode at that point. It still worked, but they managed to gradually increase the pressure, even as Elsa revealed herself and pretended to the Gestapo, pretended to be a German herself. If one person tells you are wrong, it's wrong, but if 3 people are telling you you're wrong, you're wrong. Well, that's why we need a bigger community, guys. So there are more people on my side. Okay? So tell your family. Not your family, tell your friends. We're storming your fragile castle. I don't have a fragile. My castle is the strongest castle. You're going down, Checo, man. Your empire's over. Volk, bring these double-sided axes, okay? You're getting on the LARP now, that's nice. We will need them in this battle, okay? The fucking what axes? The Danish axe, I think. I love that movie. Yeah, Inglourious Bastards is fucking fantastic. There's also shooting the double-sided swords, there's double-edged, and double-sided axe was only part of decoration, never used. Ah, I see. So there are more people on my side. Indeed. After the halfway mark, the Hitler character that Waititi is portraying is actually moving into a direction I wanted for it to go, which is like more fully embodying the colliding of the worlds between Jojo's propaganda-riddled head and his humanity. because he is now fully in love with Elsa. By the way, the character portraying Elsa, Thomasin McKenzie, not gonna lie, she's kind of cute. And don't worry, she's over 18. She's 21, so almost my age. So don't worry, that's not weird to say that. But yeah, that is just a little thing that I wanted to share with you guys. Because now we're moving to a moment that honestly like characterizes the film for many people. And it's a full 180. I was absolutely shocked to see that. It was definitely the best scene, like execution-wise, writing-wise, everything, acting-wise. It was absolutely perfect, but at the same time, it was something so shocking that literally after seeing this scene, I wrote to chat, not to chat, but to our Discord, I wrote, watch the movie so I don't spoil it for you. And this is it, the biggest spoiler, yeah? So this is your last chance to click off and come back in like half an hour. Jojo sees like a little, as he is down on the street, he sees like a little butterfly. And he follows the butterfly further into the street. And then he kind of like, as the butterfly flies away, he stands up. And as he stands up, the camera kind of pans up. And you remember how I told you about his mother like dancing always like in front of him, with like kind of her shoes in his eye line, because she was always on an elevated ledge and kind of like dancing while he watches her shoes dancing. Her shoes were in his eye line again as he stood up, the exact same shoes, because she was hanged on the street for being a communist. And when I saw that, honestly, that moment was a full 180. Like the movie just kept on going, kept on chugging through. The scene didn't end. Not even the shot didn't even end. Jojo, looked up, broke down, hugged her mother's feet, and it was just her feet that stayed in the shot. And another thing, the movie kept the big thing, like one of the motifs in the movie is the fact that Jojo Rabbit is kind of like scrawny, and like kind of like a little weak, and not fully practical in many ways. And he isn't, even though he's 10, he isn't able to tie his own shoelaces and stuff. So as he looks at the shoes, like after like releasing her from the hug, he tries to tie the shoes, but he isn't able to. He can't tie the shoes of his mother that's being hanged on the street. So damn that. So it got essentially even deeper. It gave depth to the tragedy, because it showed like both the kind of tragic kind of moment a child goes through, like trying to repair at least something, but at the same time it shows that he didn't finish his development. He can't even tie his shoelaces, and his only parent, or as far as we can see, his only parent in the world has now been hanged. And the movie did it so like subtly as well, and so out of fucking nowhere after chasing a bloody butterfly, that that completely like brought me into the ground. Like honestly, that I did not expect from those silly German Shepherd jokes to go like full serious. And there were like some subliminal messages, so if you really paid attention, which I did, fortunately, because it was in the evening yesterday that I found the time to watch it, you could tell that the mother is actually a communist, because there is a little scene where Jojo like looks around the corner and sees her putting down leaflets around town that says, if you're fed up with the war, join the party. but it isn't like expanded upon. So you have to know what's happening in Germany at the time and what they mean by the party. It was also written in red letters, so you know that she's a communist and she's in extreme danger. But I did not expect for any of this to happen. Jojo is then understandably completely shaken up, goes home, and since he doesn't understand like his mother could be a communist, doesn't know any of that, he doesn't fully understand what he saw in that leaflet. He goes home, believes it was because of Elsa that his mother was executed, because that's what he feared the most. If Elsa would be discovered, that his mother would get in trouble. So he takes his knife, goes upstairs, and stabs Elsa. And that happened right after this scene, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And at that point, I knew why it got the Academy Award, because only these two scenes were just like, nobody expected this to happen. It was incredibly well executed. It suddenly the film was just about something completely different, but at the same time it's still tied in with the rest of the movie. It was just much realer and much darker than anything. It was just like if Jojo was brought from his world into the dark cruelty of Nazi era Germany losing the war in Berlin while executing more and more people. It was insane. He did not have enough strength to push the blade any further, so the blade kind of like stopped there, so Elsa was fine. But Jojo then tried to walk away, but he just fell down, broke down crying. Elsa didn't do anything. Then yeah, so that was that. But Elsa stayed, obviously, because Berlin was still controlled by Nazis. And the next scene was kind of like reconciliation between the two. Sad Jojo being in the window with Elsa, and Elsa is explaining to him about like his father being also a communist and his mother as well. But it's all kind of implied, very subtly and well written. And they're kind of bonding again while sitting in the window, or like watching from the window during the night. So they're leaning from the window and watching the Allied bombing of Berlin, which again shot absolutely sublimely, wonderfully executed scene, and all that. And then it was connected as well later on with probably the most incredible mix of like some of the most incredible mix of emotions when it comes to scenes, when it comes to war scenes, from what I've seen in my entire life, during the Berlin battle, the battle for Berlin, like the last stand of the Nazis after Hitler committed suicide, essentially. And most of this was based on real life. There were children being sent out with Stillhandgranate tied to their uniforms. They were sent out onto the Allied battle lines. Children fighting and shooting. But then, like that horrendousness was also connected with this Captain Klenzendorf, who throughout the entire movie was hinted at being gay, which was also a huge no-no, of course, in the Nazi Germany. And he always wanted to go into battle, but he couldn't because he had one glass eye. That was sort of his story there. But now he finally could, with the uniform that he designed himself. And it was like a really extravagant kind of red cape, with like a huge gun that had like a little gramophone that played music. And he had eye lines, and he had his like trusty like partner there with him, and it was them with like eye lines and like full makeup and all that, charging into battle. And it was like a coming out moment in the middle of the battle, which is absolutely insane and incredible and beautiful as well. Very well done. Then there was like bombs going off all around, people shooting, people dying on the ground. Then there was a shot of the fucking stupid German shepherds fighting. And then Jojo just looking at the devastation all around him. Was sort of towards the end of the movie, and then like the final scenes was like when Jojo finally let Elsa out. There was a little moment where he didn't want to let her out of the attic, because even after Allies won and it was safe to come out, and he had to open the attic kind of for her and let her go, even though he was in love with her. And it ended with them dancing on the street of Berlin, because that's what Elsa said is the first thing she wants to do when she's free. Beautiful ending to a beautiful movie. It was a movie that wasn't afraid to tackle extremely difficult topics, and it did so sublimely and very interestingly, with a combination of light-hearted way of looking at everything, and jokes that more often than not for me missed the mark because they weren't funny. But when I don't focus on the actual contents of the joke and I focus just on the atmosphere and the vibe that it created, I feel like it was worth like doing the jokes. If they were better, then I would be happier, of course. But it created the light-hearted atmosphere in which this movie would excel, and it did excel for me. It's just the shitty jokes that brought it down. Taika Waititi wrote an incredible script. He just needs to stop putting himself in his movies. It just, for me, it just doesn't work. I think it would have been better without him, honestly. In it, I mean, like it's obviously he made a great movie. He was written this and directed it, and I loved it. But his character there just not great for me. He's also not the best of actors, which he fully admits himself. But like, why put himself in the movie in the first place, you know? The execution of it, again, what's the guy's name? The Romanian cinematographer, Mihai Malaimare. Wonderfully shot, obviously night and day from What We Do in the Shadows. All kinds of lenses when it comes to the conversations of Jojo and Elsa in the room, while like him kind of being afraid of the monster that he was taught to believe are Jews. So he's sitting on the other side of the room while she is like sitting absolutely normally on the bed, for example, and the wide shot there, like it's just beautifully made. Indeed, very, very, very worth it. I also don't think I've seen a joke like that would be super light-hearted, almost like childish in many ways, and then showed so much like heart-wrenching cruelty, like the mum being executed and people dying on the front and all that. But yeah, I said about like Taika Waititi saying that he's not a dramatic storyteller, that's why he wanted to make a movie like this. And yeah, I think I don't want to like bang on about Taika Waititi anymore. I wrote some more stuff here, but I mean, I talked about it at the beginning as well. Like, you understand what I mean when I say that I just didn't find him funny. A fair review, thank you, my friend. Maybe he wants to be like Stan Lee. No, he doesn't. Stan Lee just makes cameos. He doesn't actually have a major role in any of the movies in Marvel, as far as I know. But yeah, that is the review. I am open to what you guys are thinking, because that was a long one.